Hello guys, amigos, WRO here. Today I am ranking the best EV3 types of blocks to use. Now the best blocks are defined by how much they get used in one program, how hard they are to use, and if other blocks can just replace them. Without further ado, let's get right into it. First we have the green blocks. These are action blocks. You know their block type names by hovering over the color-coded thing. Anyways, these action blocks are absolutely necessary for coding, because without these action blocks, how are you going to move and stop moving? There is another block that can also control motors, but it can't use degrees, so it doesn't really count. So this block is used a lot in programs, used to move around the robot, stop the robot, turn the robot. They are not hard to use as they're pretty basic blocks, and there aren't a lot of blocks that can replace these. I don't really want to put them in S tier because these are just basic blocks, so I am going to put them in a tier. You could say it's S tier, but come on, these blocks aren't really fascinating, but they are definitely necessary for programs. Right now it's sitting at high A tier. Next we got the so-called flow control blocks, but I like to call them the if blocks. I really like these blocks because I really like the logic blocks. Logic blocks are necessary for robomission because how else are you going to deal with the random blocks? I don't really like these blocks though because they can't really do anything unless you rely on an action block. However, the program won't work if it doesn't have a starting block, but you can just use the run select button. Anyways, this block is used a lot, especially for complicated programs. The ifs and the loop is absolutely essential for programs. Also, if you didn't know this, you can also use the loop block as a wait block. These blocks aren't exceptionally hard to use, it's just how you use it. I think this block has a low floor for usage but a very high ceiling. This block is really irreplaceable. Well, I am realizing a lot of blocks are actually irreplaceable because they're so unique. Anyways, an easy A tier. Next we sensor blocks. These blocks used to measure the value of sensors, and that's about it. This block could easily be replaced by the if block, because it also measures the block's value without needing to use a compare block, but this block is also specific to PID, resetting sensors, and double sensor checks. This block is good for resetting motors or sensors, and pulling values. That's well actually how it's supposed to work. Anyways, I think it's mostly overshadowed by the if blocks. They are sometimes used in programs. They are pretty easy to use, and sometimes replaceable, so I am going to put in B tier. Next block we got is the data operations block. I think these blocks are really complicated. I first started learning EV3 when I was very young, and so I had no concept of variables, so I was confused, but now I understand it, and I don't think that these red blocks are that hard. If you use them right, they can be pretty useful. They don't get used enough though. Very underrated. The only time they get used is in PID, checking two sensors at once, array operations for robomission or etc. These blocks have a medium entry and a super high ceiling. If you have to work on complicated programs, pairing the orange flow control blocks and these data operation blocks is a deadly combo. There is no blocks that can replace these. Next we got the advanced blocks, and these really are advanced. Some of these I have never even used yet, like what's this file access block. The only blocks I have ever used out of the advanced block type is the messaging Bluetooth blocks, the comment block, the motor block, and yes, this can actually control motors. It's like the action blocks but with no degrees. You can use this motor block for connecting power function to EV3, but the action blocks can also do that, and I don't think it makes much of a difference, but anyways, super interesting blocks. I am going to put it in only high B tier because it has a high entry but a weird ceiling. Next we got the best blocks, the My blocks. These blocks are super useful because you can essentially get a shortcut to blocks. When I code, I really don't use these normal blocks. I just use the My blocks and put function of the blocks I need to use inside the My blocks. By far the best and the most unique. I am easily putting this block in S tier. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Press like and subscribe to enjoy more content like this, and adios.